welcome back to the Toffee Blues, your source for all things Everton. I am Connor Williams and we are back with another one of our 24/7 news report videos. Before the start of the show though, from all of us here at the Toffee Blues, we'd just like to pass on our thoughts and our condolences to Gary Stevens and his family after Gary's son Jack unfortunately has lost his battle with leukemia. On today's show, we do have some news on Jordan Pickford, which is going to be our headline news. This comes from The Telegraph and Mike McGrath, the journalist at The Telegraph, who's normally quite a respectable, always on the money. And it is the news that Antonio Conte wants Everton's goalkeeper, Jordan Pickford, at Tottenham and sees him as a successor of Hugo Lloris. Obviously, with most of our headline news, we run it on a Twitter poll. If you haven't followed us on Twitter by now, go down and do it. The link will be in the description down below. We run our polls on most of our headline news, and it's just a way for your voice to be heard. It's a way for us to share of what a good fraction of the fan base is thinking, so you can see if there's like-minded people like yourself, either way of how you view the question. So we asked, would you sell Jordan Pickford? 1,740 of you have voted so far. The poll is still open for another 16 hours and 52 minutes at the time of recording, so go and check it out and have your voice heard. 25% of you has voted yes, and 75% of you have voted no to selling Jordan Pickford. It's a tough one for me. There's so many ifs and buts. Well, not ifs and buts, but pros and cons. If you'd said this 3 years ago when he was having that stinker where he had tipped the ball back over the bar to Origi, he just looked like a mistake every 2 games. The horror tackle in the derby, which I thought he was going to get sent off for. The Newcastle game, where his head completely went because he was too busy in with the fans, giving it the fans. There's a couple more that I can't think of off the top of my head where, his mentality mainly has sort of gone a bit, he's a bit erratic, a bit eccentric, but very erratic. But since then, he's actually, in my opinion, improved leaps and bounds. I know last season, I think it was, he said he'd seen a sports psychologist who helped him out massively. And I think you can see that because I think the ability's always been there with Jordan Pickford. It was the eccentricity of him, the erratic behaviour, letting people get in his head a bit. And I think the psychologist has really worked on that and said, and whatever they've done, I'm not going to pretend to know what they've spoke about because that's between them. But whatever they've done, whatever he's worked on, whether with the psychologist or on his own, he has come on leaps and bounds since then, and he's a very, very great keeper. He is England's #1 keeper, and I know the media and England fans are piping for Ramsdale now, and I don't know why, because the fella literally did all he could to try and get England that Euros win. He saved penalties. He saved one from Jorginho, who very rarely misses. That I don't think that he gets enough credit. So there's one issue. I think he's a very good keeper now. His kicking, I know people will say it's not always great, but 6 out of 10 times it goes to its target, and I know you could say the other 4 go really array, and they do tend to go out for a throw into the opposite team. But I think his kicking ability is one of them. Other than Edison and Alisson, I think he's in the top 4 for best kickers as a keeper, in my opinion, in the Prem. And I think it's once you have a goalkeeper that can't kick that we will notice it. It's more one of those you'll miss it once it's gone type things. Same with Lukaku, when people were like, we'll be fine because he only scores against lower clubs. And there was that stat going around that we'd still pick up the same points without him because he only scored once we were already leading. And that people, were saying we'll be fine if we got rid of Lukaku. And once he left, we realised, no, we won't. We really miss his goals. I think it'd be one of those where you miss it once it's gone type thing with Pickford's kicking, because when I watch Begovic trying to kick the ball, it's awful. So they're my sort of pros for Pickford. His kicking is still very good. He's still up there in the Premier League. His ability is good. His mentality is a lot better now. The cons or the reasons to sell. Do I think we could get someone as good or has the potential to be better? Yes, yeah. I think there's keepers in the European League, Strakoschka, Lakovic, I think it is, for Dynamo, the Croatian lad. I think I pronounced the name right. There's 2. We could have got Mainan before he went to AC Milan. Onana is going on the free supposedly this summer. There's a number of good goalkeepers around Europe that we could get. And we need to get out of looking at the Premier League. But if we did stay in the Premier League, which knowing Everton we might do, there have been signs of good goalkeepers. Sanchez for Brighton, I like. Look at Emi Martinez, for example. He was at Arsenal. Everyone thought he was done, and he's now having one of the best moments of his career. So there's maybe an option in the Premier League, but I'd like us to start shopping outside and realising that the Premier League, there's more than one. You don't just go to Asda, do you? There's more than one supermarket out there for you. We need to stop shopping in one place and start going out to the Aldis or the other options, the other leagues. You'd go other shops. We just need to do that a little bit more, I think, in my opinion. It's not a con, it's actually a pro, but it's a pro to sell him. He'd bring in a good price. He's English. He's England's number one. I'd expect good money for him. That would help with financial fair play and another couple of other things. So obviously that's another one. I think Pickford might be tempted by the Tottenham thing. Also, this is a pro for purely him. Once he goes to Tottenham, I don't think you get the England fans saying drop him as much, or the media. I think once he plays for the top six, you get the top six treatment, and people won't start shouting that Nick Pope or Ramsdale should replace him every time they have one good game. You watch, I think he'll be treated very differently, because I think he's quite unfairly treated sometimes by England and England's fans and the England media. But that's my opinion on that. But yeah, that's everything I've got on Pickford. There are pros and cons to it. I hope he doesn't go. I'm with the 75%. But we'll have to wait and see. Like I said, it's a respected journalist and a respected source. I will say this though, I bet if he went to Tottenham, the fan perception and the media perception on England and England fans wouldn't be calling for Ramsdale to replace him. As soon as he plays for one of the top six clubs, you won't get, should he be dropped for Pope, should he be dropped for Ramsdale? It'd be England's number one as a majority, even though the lad did his very best to win England the Euros in the shootout. He literally couldn't do much more in that penalty shootout. But, because it's, I don't want to, sound like, but if he played for a top six club, I don't think you get that perception in the media. Whereas, because he plays for us, he is constantly, every time there's a good English keeper, he can replace Pickford. And I never understand it, because I actually think he's very good for England. Moving on though, we have got the news that Everton are interested in Nicolas Pepe on a loan move. Everton are one of several clubs reportedly interested in the Arsenal winger. The 26-year-old did join Arsenal for 72 million in 2019, but his playing time has been reduced in recent weeks. This has led from the interest from Everton, and according to French outlet Jeune Foutek, who are apparently looking to get a loan. Everton are they, with an option to buy included. Newcastle and Crystal Palace have also mentioned that they're in the report saying they want him. Pepe has struggled to replicate the type of form that we saw when he got 22 goals and 11 assists in his final season of Lille before moving to the Premier League. I don't know about this one. I mean, a loan with an option to buy is probably the safest bet, and I don't mind that. If we were going to go and spend 40 million on him, I'd be like, no. Yeah, why not? If he's not worked out, we can send him back to Arsenal, no big deal. And hopefully the option to buy is not too expensive. They won't ever recoup the money they spent on him. It was silly money to spend at the time, and it's been proven. Lille really did have their pants down a little bit there. And Lille do very well at doing that, unearthing good players. They play really well and then selling them on for profit. Osimhen was another one, and now they got Jonathan David, who I'm sure when he leaves will go for quite a hefty profit. So Lille did see Arsenal coming from a mile off there. We also have the news that Everton and Van der Beek latest, as United make a decision. Everton are continuing to weigh up the merits of the January move for Donny van der Beek. The United midfielder is likely to be able to leave Old Trafford on loan when the window opens in just over 6 weeks. Everton have made an inquiry in the summer, and United were not prepared to let him leave. The 24-year-old has continued to struggle to get game times under Ollie. I think we've all seen the footage of him getting frustrated, throwing his boots about. He's really not happy there. And Everton have doubled down and said, we want him on loan, let's get him. And apparently we are busy gathering information about the Dutch international before deciding to take any interest. So we look like we're just preparing. We're going to get a loan deal and offer it to United, and hopefully United say yes. I don't know if they will. For me, I don't know about Van der Beek. Again, if it's on loan, I guess you just send him back if it doesn't work out. The one thing I will say about Van der Beek and United is I don't know if they're going to be willing to loan to us. They didn't let Sergio Romero come to us, and they let him just sit there unregistered, see out the last year of his contract with no football, just to spite him going to another Premier League club and us. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be willing to loan him out to us. But obviously this would be a loan, so to get him back potentially. So it's better than him sitting there rotting on the United bench. But Everton also are chasing informed Brazilian striker. They are one of several clubs chasing Basel striker Arthur Cabral. The Brazilian scored 23 goals in 24 games so far this season, including 10 in the Europa Conference League, earning a call-up to the national side last month. Team Talk have named the Blues as one of the 5 who are interested in the 23-year-old who joined the Swiss side from Palermo's in 2019. The reports suggest any move for Cabral will cost in the region of 15 million, with clubs across Europe also mentioned as possible destinations. This 15 million, it's not awful, it's not brilliant, it's not awful. Obviously, his goal scoring record there sounds phenomenal. He is playing for Basel, which is one of the better teams in the Swiss league, and the quality there is not quite the same as the Premier League. And that Conference League, I'd have loved for us to get in it because some of the teams there are a real lack of quality compared to the other teams. So take it with a pinch of salt. But it shows he knows where the net is. He's Brazilian. We have a couple of Brazilian lads playing for us. We'll have to wait and see if anything happens. If we're still in a situation where DCLs are only competent centre forward, then maybe we do need to start looking elsewhere. I think it's pretty obvious that Solomon Rondon's not going to be the answer. So the club will probably need to look at a backup. Everton, speaking of centre forwards, Everton are considering letting Genk Tosun leave for free. Everton could be prepared to let Tosun leave for free in January, according to reports. The striker joined the Blues from Besiktas in 2018 for £27 million, but was loaned out by the club last season before suffering a knee injury. Sport Witness reports via NTV Sport that Tosun could rejoin his former side in January without demanding a fee. The striker has since returned to full fitness, but is yet to feature for Rafa Benitez after being named on the bench in the last 2 Everton games. Listen, I think we should let him go. I mean, for free, that's just 27 in the red, not made any money back, not even attempted to make any money back. For me personally, that's very poor. I don't know if it was complete. I think, if I've read reports right, again, this was a Farhad Moshiri signing. He watched Monaco versus Besiktas and the look of Tosun and was like, just knock the ball up to him, he'll have goals, because that's how Moshiri thought football was going to be played. This is all the reports, but I've heard this is how we ended up with Tosun. And obviously we signed him. We had him, Sigurdsson, Balassi, and I think it was Rooney, and there is Moshiri's Fab 4. If he goes on a free, it's not the worst signing Everton have ever made or lost, but it just shows why we need the director of football to do the football, and Farhad to just stay out of the football dealings as much. He certainly shouldn't be, signing players willy-nilly that he's watched one game of, if that is the truth behind it. But letting him go on a free, just 27 million in the red already. Everton are testing the waters for a move over Ivan Perisic. Everton are supposedly testing the waters with Inter Milan over a move for the winger. The Croatian forward will be out of contract at the end of the season and has made it clear that he won't be signing an extension at the San Siro. The Blues have been credited with an interest in the 32-year-old by Sport Witness via Italian outlet La Interesti. Perisic is said to be favouring a return to Germany though. Rome and AC Milan are also said to be monitoring the forward situation alongside Everton. I don't like the idea of Perisic. I know there might be some of you out there that do. I personally don't. I think he's past it. And I don't think he wants to come to us. If he wants to go Germany, I think he's hoping for a Bayern or a Dortmund maybe. I think he's hoping for. In reality, he'd be lucky to get a Leverkusen. I personally think that's where he needs to start aiming a bit, not the top 2 in Germany. Roma, I can see why Mourinho might like him. Maybe that's an option for him. But maybe if he doesn't like Italy, he's not going to stay there. I just don't see him coming to Everton. So I wouldn't lose sleep over this or celebrate and get your hopes up either way. Of the coin you land on that. But that is all we've got time for today. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, comment down below on anything I've discussed today in the video. Jordan Pickford, get rid or keep, and if you're saying get rid, let me know who you personally would sign as his replacement, and the fee that you'd let him go to Tottenham for. It's got to be a good fee, in my opinion anyway. Let me know your thoughts on Ivan Perisic, Genk Tosin going on a free, Donny van der Beek and Cabral, and also let us know about Nicolas Pepe on loan. I think on a loan with an option to buy is relatively sensible by Everton, which is a bit refreshing. But yeah, also it's worth pointing out, guys, if you want any of your Everton merchandise, you can get them from the Everton direct link in the description down below. And right now, also in the description down below is a link to the Everton Toffee Blues Christmas jumper with Everton's best centre-back, Yerry Mina, on the jumper, having his dance with his Christmas hat on and the Everton kit on. It's a really nice jumper. If you're looking for something to get your dad for Christmas, or your brother, or even your mum or sister, you know, anyone, your aunties, your uncles, anyone in your family or your friends, it's a really good option to get them. It looks very sick. But yeah, that's all I got time for, and stay safe, guys.